Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Backstage Bimbo TV. My name is Allison Rouse, your most notorious groupie, and author of We've Got Tonight, The Life and Times of Notorious Groupie, me. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much to all the awesome people who are just really making this an incredible experience. Jen over at Jen TV, you guys go subscribe to her. She does awesome and fun tarot readings. She does really cool live sessions and stuff. It's badass. I mean, Karen and Krakendushin and oh my god, Tamara and Kira and so many people that are just that I can't even name without looking in the comments. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support and for like really interacting not only with me but with each other and sharing yourselves with me. That means so much, and I can never tell you guys how much love and appreciation I have for you guys. So thank you. All right, so let's move on to the cocktails and rocktails this week, because we're going to take a nice little journey around the 80s, and we're going to stop on New Year's Eve of 1989 into 90. And we're going to be with a little band out of Texas, known for their number one known song is called Sportin' a Woody. That's right, Scott D. Wayne Dalhover, we're talking about you and Dangerous Toys. If you haven't heard them, you guys, they rock. They weren't as big as they should have been, but they're still around. They're still playing. I'll put a link to Sportin' a Woody down in the description. And since we end up in New Year's Eve in LA in 1989, I'm going to have myself a little bubbly. So everybody, sport your woodies, grab your bubblies, kick up your feet, and let's have a little cocktails and rocktails, shall we? Cheers, big ears. I love my campers. Okay, so like I said, I'd seen Scott for a couple of years. We actually met at the Speedway Cafe. Dangerous Toys was playing there. Speedway was known for really awesome shows, from Gore to Overkill to Fate's Warning and Dangerous Toys, and just some really awesome Danzig and all these bands that used to play there on their way up, and just really awesome punk bands and stuff. And it was just as shitty as CBGB's, but the bathrooms were grosser. And it was kind of the West Coast CBGB's. So Dangerous Toys was playing there one night. They had been to Salt Lake City before. I did not meet them their first time, but my friend Jennifer did, who was a groupie as well. I guess her and Scott hooked up. I didn't know this, so by the time they came to the Speedway Cafe, and I didn't know what the guys looked like. I wasn't really thinking about any of them. Of course, there's a band at the Speedway, no other band in town. What are we going to do? Danny and I cruised down to the Speedway Cafe with our friend Shara in tow. Shara was not her real name. I've spoken about her in Seattle the first time where we stayed with her, but wasn't exactly like it seems. So anyway, we all cruised down. We get on the bus. We're hanging out. I can't remember anything about the night I met Scott, which is crazy because we've hung out so many times, but I just remember really liking Scott, and he's sober, doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, and he's got a fucking hella sense of humor. He's just really awesome guy. He was really funny, really sweet. And I just really ended up liking him, and so we hooked up, as you do, because, you know, that's what groupies and rock stars do. Unbeknownst to my friend Jennifer, who then was at the show later, and ended up moping around because she stole my boyfriend. And she would say that many other times at different shows, like Billy Squire, where the upside-down tour bus trick was invented and stuff. So she kind of held it against me, which I'm sorry, I didn't know that they had hooked up. But anyway. So we hook up then, and I don't remember anything of that night, how we hooked up. We must have gone back to the hotel or something. I don't know. But they had come back in town again, Danny and I, because Danny was with someone from the tour as well. Shara was with the other guitar player whose name is Danny, but that's a guy. So the second time they come in town, we're just having kind of a crazy little orgy, drinking some beer during the day over at Little America, hanging out, having a good time, go to the show, enjoy each other's company. And I'm liking Scott because he's a lot of fun. He's a good-looking guy. He's a lot of fun. And, well, he's great in bed. Pretty good shag on that boy. Yes, it is. So, anyway, we end up, seeing each other a few more times on a couple of tours. I've talked about him on the Operation Rock and Roll tour when they were opening up with Allison Cooper, Motorhead and stuff, I think it was. And he had lost my phone number and was sitting in his hotel room. Again, I'll put the link to the vlog where I'd spoken about this before. Staring at a phone book, trying to find my phone number, which I've never been listed the whole time my adult life as a phone number. I've never been listed. And I was joking around, going to knock on some strange door, and it ended up being Scott's, but I ended up not knocking on it. And kind of a kismet situation that was missed, but we did end up hooking up the next day and hanging out. Kept going. So fast forward a few months later, I'm down in Arizona, hanging out I came down to see Scott and stuff, and was staying with my friend Missy. Hi, Missy Renee. Love you, honey. But we were hanging out, and they were opening up for the cult, and this is getting close to New Year's Eve, so it had to be around November-ish, October, somewhere around there. Scott and I were having a great time hanging out, and he's like, you and Danny should come to LA for New Year's. It would be so much fun. And, I was talking to Danny, the guitar player of Dangerous Toys. I'm like, Shara should come too. He's like, who? He's like, well, she must have been good because I only remember the bad ones. Okay, then. I'm glad it wasn't me with that, Danny. But so anyway, we say, okay, yeah, let's go to New Year's. Let's hang out on New Year's. Told me where they were staying, everything, so we get everything together. I go back up to Salt Lake City after a few days down in Arizona with them and go back up to Salt Lake City. I say, Danny, I'm like, they've invited us to down for New Year's. We should go. So we ended up getting our plane tickets, talking to Shara, who was living in Seattle. So, this was really close to Danny and I moving to Seattle the first time. This is, was this right before? Yeah, this is right before the kids at AC/DC, I believe. Because that was in January. Oh, God. No, this is before that. Anyway, so 30 years of being backstage, it just all kind of blends in after a while. And I don't have my passes right next to me, so... Anyway, so she's like, yeah, cool. So we book the plane tickets. Shara books her tickets. We book a hotel. We get everything together. Because they're sharing rooms, so we kind of want to be able to have one or two different hotel rooms that at least we can have some privacy in. So they're staying at the Hollywood Palm just off Hollywood Boulevard. We book our hotel at the Holiday Inn on Hollywood Boulevard, which you've seen in the movie Blast from the Past. That's where the Brendan Fraser character is staying. That lobby and everything looked exactly the same as it did in the movie. So we book our hotel room there, and, this is kind of another frenemy story, warning story, because Shara, she kind of got herself into a pickle. She had invited a roadie she was seeing down for New Year's with us into one of our rooms, which Danny and I were paying for. We just were like, cool, Shara, come down, just hang with us. We didn't expect her to have this roadie with her. Not a good idea, because, what's she going to do about Danny? So we pick her up from the airport, and here's this roadie, and we're like, oh, hello. Because we're all in the hotel van. And we're like, what the fuck, girl? What the hell? She's like, oh, he wanted to come down, so I invited him down, and they're all lovey-dovey. We're like, okay, but what about Danny from Dangerous Toys? And we just said it in front of the roadie. He was like, what? She's like, oh, I don't know what they're talking about. Trying to be all fakey-wakey and stuff. And I've got pictures of all this somewhere that I will put at the end of the video for you guys. So, okay, whatever. We get checked in the hotel room. I call Scott. He's like, oh, cool, let's all get together. So we all get together. We're hanging out. We grab something to eat. Go back to Scott's room. Oh, hey, say hi to Suki, everybody. Hi, Suki. He's going to want to get out. Okay, just a second. Let me let the cat out. So, okay, Shara, and Shara having this guy with her was creating tension. Because she couldn't come to dinner with us, so she took off with her roadie friend. She couldn't come because she couldn't have Danny seeing her with this roadie and so on and so on. And, we were just being stupid, just cruising up down Hollywood Boulevard, go to the Rainbow, do the usual stuff, and that's where we'd gone to eat. And she didn't come to the Rainbow with us because she couldn't. She was with that roadie. She couldn't you can't cross-reference your lovers. So, and she's staying in the room with us, he's staying in the room with us, and then we have our friend Sean Mulvey, who was with Dark Angel. He came down and said hello to us. I believe that was New Year's Eve day. Hey, Sean. So, and, we're just having a good time, but then somehow, and the roadie's still around, he knows someone else from the Dangerous Toys. It gets busted that Shara's and Danny's just like, yeah, whatever, fuck off, I'm in LA. There's a lot of women here. A lot of women easier than any of you. So, she gets a little more jealous. And while we were at the Rainbow, they were talking about their New Year's Eve party, and Tony at the time had said, you girls should be here, I'll make sure you guys get in, blah, 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 blah. And Scott's like, well, we're playing on New Year's Eve with the Cult. And they're like, oh yeah, those guys will probably be here after. And I'm like, okay, so we'll just meet you there. Well, and that's kind of not the way it ended up going. It ended up that the day of the show, instead of going to see them, because we'd seen Dangerous Toys a lot, and I love Dangerous Toys. They are an awesome rock band. They're so much fun. But so we ended up going over to the Rainbow and stuff for a while, and Scott's like, well, we're going to be done by 10. I can be back at the hotel by 10:30, 11 o'clock. All right, cool. He's like, I'll call the hotel room. So we went over to the Rainbow for a couple hours, just kind of got there early, just had fun, had dinner, went back to the hotel. And I was waiting for Scott to call. Well, like I said, Shara didn't come with us. She had gone wherever with her roadie friend. And they were back at the hotel by the time we got there around 11:45, somewhere around there. So I'm sitting there waiting for Scott's call. 11:15, not getting Scott's call. So a little bit more goes by. Shara and them had met this guy and his girlfriend. He played in a local band called Salty Dog. So they came up and we hung out with them, smoked some of their weed. They're really cool people. Just really nice just to come up, and they were going to spend New Year's Eve alone, and we're like, nah, let's join you, we were going to go to their studio. We're like, yeah, no, we got the hotel room. Come on up. Really cool people. Awesome. Beautiful people. So awesome to meet them. But the unbeautiful person in the room was Shara, because what I didn't know, because all of a sudden while we're hanging out about 11:45, maybe 10:02, and I'm getting pissed off that Scott hasn't called, I look down at the phone in the room, because this is before cell phones, and there used to be a red light on the phones that blinks, and I think there still is, that shows you have a message. And it's blinking, so I pick it up, and I'm like, oh, it's Scott. So I call Scott, and he's like, why didn't you answer? I've called like 5 times. Because there was like 5 messages. And I'm like, the phone wasn't ringing, so I pick up the phone and look underneath it. Shara turned off the ringer, and she's like, oh, I did it because, I don't know. I just did it because I didn't want the phone to ring. No, she did it because she didn't want us to miss out on the party that she would have rather been in than with the roadie that she didn't like as much as Danny. You made your bed, lie in it. So we ended up, finally hooking up at midnight. Just in time to have, and we were just drunk as fuck. I remember, it was a crazy party. Like, Danny took off with her guy. I took off with Scott. Kid and Play were staying in our hotel, so we were back and forth from the hotel. Scott actually came to the hotel to walk me the 2 blocks over to where their hotel was. And here's Kid and Play, the rap group, in the elevator with the groupie and this, rock star from Texas. It was just, and we were actually having a really good conversation. Those guys were cool as hell. I loved them. Never really got into their music that much, but as people, they were really fucking cool because they were kind of exchanging stories about being on the road. I'm like, oh, look, it's 2 different bands, because I think I said something in the elevator. They're like, oh, you're a band? Yeah, we're on tour, we're playing with this band. Oh wow, this is our first tour. And they just kind of had this really crazy conversation. So anyway, we hook up, pretty much banished Shara and her roadie to the second room while Danny and I were in our room, in the other room with the 2 beds, because you know what, we're just like, that wasn't cool. We bitched her out. I'm like, why the fuck did you turn off the phone? Well, just, we needed the privacy. I'm like, it doesn't matter. You didn't have the privacy when I came in. You could have told me the phone was off because you knew. I said we were waiting for Scott to call. For Scott and Danny's guy to call and go on our ways. But there that is. There's that frenemy jealousy creeping up again that was so unnecessary. Because why? You made your bed, lie in it. You've got two guys you're trying to juggle. You can't juggle them in the same town, sister. Not even in LA. Not even I can do that, and I'm good at juggling. Trust me. I mean, I don't juggle anymore. It's been 20 years since I've even juggled anybody because we all grow the fuck up. So anyway, that was kind of our New Year's Eve. We all went out for a hungover little breakfast the next morning to Burger King or whatever. Late lunch probably because we all slept till about noon or so. And we meet this guy, short guy, curly hair. Cool guy. He's a bass player looking to find his way. Well, a few months later, he would find his way into a little band called Megadeth because that was Marty Friedman. So that was the first time we met Marty Friedman. And, you know, that's when Danny and I were over at the Rainbow. That was kind of the first time we'd been to the Rainbow a couple other times, but wasn't really into the scene, but really got to know a lot of the people at the Rainbow, like the Miglieris and stuff like that. Because we'd gone earlier while they were, and we were like, we just wanted to come because we've got people to meet at midnight, but we wanted to come because you guys were so cool, and, you know, thank you for the hospitality. And so there was kind of a good trip into LA because I really got to know LA a lot better than I had when I'd been there before with other musicians. Because usually with other musicians, again, in and out of town, 24 hours, next show in San Francisco or Sacramento the next day. So you're usually in and out of LA. And LA's nice, but it's not my cup of tea. But my cup of tea was Scott Dwayne Dalhover. And like I said, this was probably a year and a half, 2 years into this. And I think it would be this was their first album for Sporting a Woody, and then was their second album, Hellacious Acres, that came out. So this would not be the last time I would see Scott. We're still friends on Facebook. He's still a cool ass guy. I love him to death. So yeah, there's my story of Scott. He's one of the few rockers that I've dated that was sober at the time, you know, and I enjoyed it better because like I said, it's all genuine and it's not the alcohol talking at all, and just for being in bed makes it even better when the guy's sober and you know there's not going to be any whiskey dick. So there you guys go. There's my little babble for this week on Cocktails and Cocktails and Rocktails about Scott Dalhover from Dangerous Toys. Like I said, really awesome band. Always had a lot of good fun with them. Spent a lot of years just hanging out with those guys and really, really enjoy them. I'll put the links to their music down in the bio. So thank you guys for listening. And don't forget, I'm going to put some pictures from that New Year's Eve. Don't have really a lot of pictures with the band, but we just had a lot of pictures, took a few things on Hollywood Boulevard. Because when you're with the band and it's your friends and you're not fazed by their rock starness, you just don't take pictures. So that's why I don't have a ton of them. But there you guys go. There's Cocktails and Rocktails for the week. Again, thank you guys so much for the love and support. For the 58% that are just stalking me, hit that subscribe, hit the bell, hit the like. My bells. Like my bells. All right, we'll see you next week for some more Cocktails and Rocktails, folks. Cheers, big ears.